Boom! Forget calm openings or slow warm-ups because today we're diving straight into a topic that has sparked debates in comment sections, fan cafes, Twitter threads, and living rooms all over the world. We're talking about the real personalities of BTS members. Yes, the side of them that shows up when cameras turn away, when interviews end, and when the stage lights finally go dark. Everyone knows their stage personas, charismatic, fierce, cool, larger than life, but offstage? That's a whole different universe, and sometimes it feels more dramatic than any K-drama plot twist. And before anyone panics, relax. We're not here to expose secrets or spill tea like some undercover tabloid agent hiding behind a potted plant. Nope. We're here to explore the fascinating, often hilarious, and sometimes surprisingly wholesome traits that fans, staff, and the boys themselves have shown us over the years. Think of this as hanging out with that one friend who somehow knows everything about everyone at school and tells the stories with maximum enthusiasm while eating snacks. You'll laugh, you'll nod, you'll probably yell, "That is so true," at least twice. But don't expect spoilers, we're not revealing any ranking yet. We're just setting the vibe, curious, chaotic, and slightly nosy in the best way possible. Because when it comes to BTS, their real personalities are like a treasure chest, bright, messy, unpredictable, and overflowing with charm. And trust me, the deeper we dig, the more you'll realize that what you thought you knew about them, well, let's just say the results might not match the image you had in your head. And honestly, that's what makes this journey fun. So buckle up, keep your socks on, and prepare mentally because personality rankings aren't just about who's the funniest or the most serious. Sometimes they reveal little things that make you go, "Wait, he does that?" No more warming up. Let's get this adventure rolling.
Number 7. Jungkook, the surprisingly introverted energizer. Jungkook landing at number 7 might already shock some people, because let's be honest, the guy looks like he was designed in a lab for the word main character. On stage, he's a powerhouse, in videos, he's effortlessly funny, and in every performance, he moves like he's powered by 10 portable chargers. But when you peel back the layers and look at his real-life personality, something interesting happens. The golden Mach-Knot transforms into someone far more introverted, thoughtful, and quietly complex than the loud, high-energy image many fans assume. And this contrast is exactly what makes him such a fascinating entry on this list. You'd expect someone with a voice that could shake a stadium and confidence that could melt a camera lens to be a full-on extrovert who screams, "Let's go!" every hour. Nope. Jungkook in real life is more like that one guy everyone loves at a party, but who secretly wants to go home and lie face down on his bed with his phone. He's the type who can light up a room, but only when he feels like it. And when he doesn't, he retreats into this quiet bubble where he observes, thinks, and processes everything. People around him, even the other members, have said countless times that he's a mix of hyperactive puppy and shy cat, depending on the moment, the environment, or the mood he woke up with. One day, he's singing loudly in the dorms, wrestling hungs, and randomly backflipping because apparently gravity doesn't apply to him. Another day, he's silent, drawing circles on the table, scrolling on his phone, or disappearing into his own world while sipping coffee like a mysterious K-drama lead who's contemplating life. And honestly, who hasn't had that kind of dual personality moment? Jungkook's real-life vibe is shaped heavily by the fact that he started training at a ridiculously young age. Imagine being a teenager surrounded by older, experienced guys who already knew how to navigate emotions, communication, and adult life. Jungkook didn't grow up alone, he grew up inside BTS. The Hungs weren't just teammates, they were mentors, guardians, part-time teachers, and occasionally victims of his chaotic energy. That environment molded him into someone extremely aware of the people around him. He watches, he learns, he absorbs everything like a sponge. And that's why he sometimes comes off quiet. He's processing. But the funny part, even when he's in introvert mode, Jungkook has this accidental comedic timing that works whether he's trying or not. like when he answers questions with the emotional enthusiasm of someone ordering food at 3 a.m., or when he randomly zones out in interviews and the camera catches him looking like he's questioning every life decision he's ever made, or when the members tease him and he responds with that confused little, huh, that instantly becomes a meme. His personality is also rooted in a deep sense of sincerity. Jungkook is not the type who pretends to understand something he doesn't. If he's confused, he'll stare. If he's shy, he'll shrink. If he's excited, he explodes. Everything he does comes straight from the source. No filters, no pretense. And that's surprisingly rare in the entertainment industry. Another real-life detail that fans love is his determination. Jungkook doesn't just try things, he obsesses over them. Boxing? He trains like he's preparing for a championship. Painting? He buys enough supplies to open an art classroom. Fitness? He becomes a full gym tutorial without even talking. Cooking? He casually makes something that looks like a Michelin star side quest. This isn't just a hobby trait, it's a personality trait. Jungkook cannot half do anything. It's either full commitment or zero effort, no in between. And ironically, that intensity often comes from its quiet moments. When he disappears emotionally, he's recharging so he can come back with that explosive energy everyone knows and loves. And let's not forget the adorable contradictions. He's shy around new people, but can sing confidently in front of millions. He gets embarrassed easily, but posts videos of himself working out like he's starring in a fitness commercial. He wants privacy, but also goes live at random hours to show fans his laundry routine. He's quiet, but extremely competitive, like, I must win even if it kills me competitive. That mix of softness and intensity makes him incredibly human. The real Jungkook isn't some perfect idol carved from marble. He's a young man who's growing up in real time, sometimes overwhelmed, sometimes goofy, sometimes wise, sometimes chaotic, always authentic. No matter how introverted he feels, he still radiates that natural charisma, not because he tries, but because it leaks out of him like sunlight. And that's exactly why he starts off our ranking. Not because he's the least expressive or the least complex, far from it, but because his personality is still evolving, still shifting, still layering itself with new experiences. Jungkook at number 7 doesn't mean he's lacking, it means his story is still unfolding. And honestly, that's what makes him so compelling.
Number 6. J-Hope, the sunshine with a secret switch. J-Hope taking number 6 might confuse people at first because, let's be honest, when you think of personality, he's usually the member who pops into your head first. He's the guy everyone calls sunshine, literal energy drink, human serotonin booster, and pretty much any glowing nickname that implies he walks around sprinkling happiness like confetti from a portable cannon. But here's the twist that many people don't see. Behind all that brightness, behind the laughter, the dance practice hype, the chaotic giggles, and the endless positive energy, J-Hope has one of the most complex, layered, and surprisingly guarded real personalities in the entire group, which is exactly why he lands at number 6. Not because he's simple, but because you have to peel back several layers before you start seeing the deeper parts of who he is. And wow, there are layers. Let's start with the obvious. Everyone knows J-Hope as the mood maker of the group. In Run BTS episodes, he's always the one laughing first, screaming first, reacting most loudly, and doing things with an exaggerated flair that makes you wonder if he's low-key auditioning for a comedy show. He gets scared easily, jumps at everything, and gives reactions so iconic that editors probably cry from happiness every time he appears on screen. But that exaggerated version of himself, that's just one side. A real side, yes, but also a consciously maintained one, like a switch he flips on when he needs to lift the room. Because when the cameras turn off, when the games end, when the chaos settles and the members go back to their own corners, J-Hope reveals a quieter, more introspective, more observant version of himself. He's the type who notices when someone is tired, who senses tension before anyone says a word, and who tries to ease the atmosphere, not because he wants attention, but because he genuinely hates discomfort and disharmony. It's in those moments that you realize his positivity isn't just his personality, it's his form of responsibility. And that kind of emotional work is heavier than people think. There's this fascinating contrast in J-Hope that often goes unnoticed. He's both incredibly open and extremely private. He'll dance around like he has zero shame, yet he keeps his vulnerabilities tucked away so neatly that even fans who have watched him for 10 years sometimes go, "Wait, he felt that?" He can be loud and theatrical in one second, but when he's alone, he becomes this calm, focused, almost perfectionist artist who can spend hours choreographing, organizing, or rehearsing without saying a word. And trust me, perfectionist is not an exaggeration. J-Hope's work ethic is the kind that makes other hardworking people reconsider their entire life approach. He doesn't just practice, he practices with military-level discipline. His dance background trained him to seek precision, control, and execution, and that mindset flows into the rest of his personality. He is deeply self-critical, sometimes too much for his own good. He's the type who will finish a show, receive endless praise, and still think, "I could have done better." And while everyone else is relaxing, he's replaying performances in his mind, mentally adjusting footwork, expressions, timing. That inner pressure shapes so much of who he is in real life. He carries responsibility for the group's performance quality like it's a suitcase filled with bricks, but he hides it behind a smile so the others don't feel the weight. And honestly, that's both admirable and heartbreaking. But let's not forget the comedic side, because J-Hope's humor is practically a personality category by itself. The man's reactions are entertainment gold. He screams like he studied the art of dramatic yelling. He runs from bugs like he's being chased by a horror movie villain. And he has this hilarious tendency to be both brave and terrified at the same time. Like, he'll volunteer bravely to do something, but immediately regret everything while doing it. His fear of ghosts, legendary. His screams, cinematic. His expressions, Academy Award worthy. But again, this humor often covers deeper things. J-Hope's real-life personality is shaped heavily by being a middle child figure in the team. He's the connector, the stabilizer, the emotional bridge. When someone feels down, he senses it. When the group needs energy, he provides it. When things feel tense, he distracts or redirects with humor. He doesn't just brighten the room, he repairs it. And that comes from a very old, very mature emotional instinct. Another interesting detail, he's actually more introverted than most people expect. Sure, he's friendly and warm, but he's not the type to spill personal thoughts casually. He likes structure, he likes boundaries, he likes control, especially over his emotions. He can be silly, but he's rarely reckless. He's cheerful, but rarely careless. And although he seems like the most openly expressive member, there's a fine print. He only shows what he chooses to show. But what he chooses to show? Pure gold. His kindness is genuine, his warmth is consistent, his professionalism is unmatched, and his ability to lift spirits, whether through jokes, dances, or just being J-Hope, is something the group relies on more than most people realize. So why number 6? Because his personality, while bright and powerful, is also carefully balanced and deeply internal. He's sunshine, but sunshine with structure, joy, but joy with discipline, chaos, but chaos with intention. And the combination makes him one of the most fascinating personalities in BTS, someone who shines not because life is easy, but because he chooses to shine anyway.
Number 5, Jimin, the gentle charmer with a hidden steel core. Jimin landing at number 5 is the perfect example of why real-life personalities can be way more surprising than the polished images people see on stage. If you only know him through performances, you'd think he's the embodiment of elegance, softness, and angelic presence, a man who floats instead of walks, and probably sings lullabies to flowers for fun. But real-life Jimin? Oh, buckle up, because he is one of the most uniquely layered, quietly fiery, emotionally tuned, hilariously chaotic individuals in BTS. He's sweet, yes. He's gentle, yes. But he's also unexpectedly savage, fiercely driven, secretly stubborn, and more complex than people give him credit for. And honestly, that complexity is exactly why he sits perfectly at number 5.
Let's start with the fact that Jimin has one of the warmest, most comforting auras in the group. He's the type who reaches out when someone looks lonely, who checks if you ate when you clearly didn't, who pats your back in a way that makes you instantly confess your darkest secrets even though he didn't ask. He has this emotional radar that feels like it was developed in a lab. The members have said countless times that Jimin notices everything, every shift in tone, every worried look, every moment someone tries to hide their stress. He's like that friend who can sense your mood from the way you zip your backpack. And when he senses something off, he steps in with this soft, gentle approach that doesn't intrude but absolutely melts your defenses. That's one side of him. Then there's the other side, the one that is, how do we say this gently, dramatic. And not dramatic in a bad way, dramatic in a, I'm going to pout, act betrayed, and make everyone feel guilty even though nothing happened kind of way. This part of his personality has sparked so many legendary moments. Him pretending to be upset because someone didn't pick him in a game, him acting offended because a member teased him about his height, him giving the cold, tiny stare that somehow makes even the tallest taehyung fold instantly. The duality is insane. One moment he's hugging someone with angelic warmth, the next moment he's playfully threatening to end everything because someone stole his fried chicken. And the funniest part? Everyone falls for it every single time. Jimin also has a hidden competitive streak that is hysterical and terrifying. He may look soft, but inside, that man has the spirit of a challenger who refuses to lose at anything, even if the competition is about who can peel an orange faster. He's the type to smile sweetly, then aggressively strategize in his head like he's preparing for battle. And when he does lose, oh, he remembers for years. This competitive drive is also part of why he's such an intense worker. People forget that Jimin was originally trained in modern dance, a discipline known for precision, emotion, and physical control. That upbringing shaped him into someone who constantly monitors himself, evaluates himself, and pushes himself beyond his limits. Behind the scenes, he is known for practicing until his muscles scream for help, repeating moves endlessly, and obsessing over details like finger positions and breathing patterns. He's incredibly hard on himself, sometimes too hard, and that pressure creates this mix of vulnerability and strength that defines who he is. But let's not skip over one of the funniest sides of Jimin, his iconic teasing ability. The man was born to roast people with maximum softness and minimum mercy. He'll smile at you while delivering a line that hits harder than a diss track, and you won't even be mad because he looks so adorable saying it. He teases Jungkook, he annoys V, he plays with Suga, he pokes at RM, and yet everyone still melts around him. Why? Because he teases with affection. He's like a cat who pushes things off the table, but then cuddles you afterward. His personality thrives on connection. He gets close to people by touching them, joking with them, teasing them, reassuring them, and sometimes literally climbing onto their laps like a tiny koala with attitude. And then there's Jimin in his natural habitat, the dorm. Real-life Jimin at home is one of the funniest, most unexpected characters. He laughs loudly, he eats dramatically, he gets emotional over tiny things. He monologues at 2 a.m. about life and randomly hugs people who are clearly not ready to be hugged. His emotional transparency is both adorable and admirable. When he's happy, he shines like a lamp. When he's frustrated, he sulks like a child denied candy. When he's excited, he makes tiny noises like a cartoon character. And when he's touched emotionally, he cries with the sincerity of someone who truly feels deeply. But don't mistake that softness for weakness. Beneath his warm exterior, Jimin is tough. He has grit. He has resilience. He has the kind of emotional backbone that makes him push through insecurities, injuries, criticisms, and pressures while still keeping his heart open. He's the type who can comfort others even when he himself is hurting. And that level of emotional strength, rare. So why number 5? Because Jimin's personality is a perfect blend of tenderness and fire, affection and mischief, grace and stubbornness. He's not the calmest, nor the wildest, nor the loudest, nor the quietest. He sits right in the center, a balanced chaos. And honestly, that balance makes him one of the most fascinating, lovable, and unforgettable personalities in BTS.
Number 4. V. Kim Taehyung, the free spirit with a beautifully confusing mind.
V taking the number 4 spot is probably the least shocking yet most confusing placement on this entire list, because if there is any BTS member whose personality feels like a mysterious gift box wrapped in 18 layers of glitter, tape, bubble wrap, and possibly a jazz soundtrack in the background, it's Kim Taehyung. Trying to describe V's real-life personality is like trying to explain why cats suddenly sprint at 3 a.m. You can make theories, but at the end of the day, some things are simply beyond human comprehension. And that's exactly what makes him so iconic. On the surface, Taehyung is charming, chill, and effortlessly cool. He moves like someone who knows he looks good doing literally anything, even just standing still. But his personality? Oh no, that's not chill at all. It's chaotic, whimsical, thoughtful, philosophical, childlike, mature, mischievous, artistic, and unpredictable all at once. He's the type who can go from talking about the meaning of life to suddenly poking someone's cheek because he's bored. One minute he's a stoic art museum visitor with silent intensity, the next minute he's laughing like a cartoon villain because someone tripped over nothing. And somehow all of that is still authentically him. What most people don't realize is that V has one of the most independent personalities in BTS. He doesn't follow trends, he creates them accidentally. He doesn't try to fit into molds, he breaks them just by existing. He's the guy whose brain seems to operate on a slightly different frequency, like an artist who interprets the world in shapes and colors the rest of us haven't unlocked yet. That sense of individuality is exactly what shaped some of his most iconic moments, like him deciding that "I purple you" would be a meaningful phrase, which it became, or him wearing outfits that look like concepts from Fashion Week but are somehow just his usual Tuesday vibe, or him listening to jazz from the 1920s while everyone else is vibing to modern pop. Being around Taehyung probably feels like hanging out with someone who lives in his own universe, but visits ours occasionally to cause a little mischief and then leave before anyone knows what happened. But underneath all that uniqueness, V is also emotionally soft in ways people don't always catch. He deeply values friendship, loyalty, and meaningful connections. He's known for forming attachments slowly but seriously. Once he trusts someone, he treats them like family. His inner circle is small not because he's picky, but because he's real. He doesn't do fake friendships or surface-level bonding. When he cares hard. Some of the most heartfelt moments in BTS history involve V quietly comforting other members, holding back tears when someone else is hurting, or expressing affection in the most genuine, straightforward way. And what's beautiful is that he doesn't try to hide this side. Sure, he's playful and mischievous, but when he's emotional, he lets it show. When he's worried, he expresses it. And when he's proud of someone, he praises them with the sincerity of a loyal friend who truly wants to see everyone win. Another iconic trait is his chaotic comedy. This man is unintentionally hilarious. His timing, his reactions, his random comments that sound like he woke up from a dream and decided to share the plot out loud. Taehyung has this habit of saying things that catch people completely off guard, like asking the members philosophical questions in the middle of dinner, or suddenly dancing like a dad at a barbecue for absolutely no reason. His humor is never planned, it just happens naturally because his thoughts move in directions the rest of us haven't unlocked yet. And let's talk about his unpredictability, because if there's one member whose next move you'll never see coming, it's V. He will suddenly disappear from a conversation only to reappear 20 minutes later holding snacks for everyone. He'll decide at midnight that he wants to go for a walk alone, giving the managers a heart attack. He'll dye his hair a new color on impulse. He'll take photos of random objects like a professional photographer discovering new art forms. He'll raise his eyebrows weirdly at the camera, causing fans to collectively lose their minds. And then he'll pretend he has no idea why everyone is screaming. But here's the twist. Despite being unpredictable, Taehyung is also extremely grounded. People mistake his whimsical personality for irresponsibility, but in reality, he's incredibly hardworking and focused when it matters. He's one of the most naturally gifted performers. His expressions, his voice tone, his stage presence, they all come from this deep, intuitive understanding of artistry. Behind the scenes, he practices diligently, takes advice seriously, and works quietly but intensely. He's not loud about his efforts, he just does them. And that duality, serious artist versus chaotic sprite, creates a personality that is impossible not to love. His relationship with the members also reveals so much about him. He teases Jungkook like an annoying older brother. He annoys Jimin just to get attention. He laughs with J-Hope until their faces are red. He hugs RM randomly like a big warm bear. He stares at Jin like they share an inside joke from 3 years ago. And he listens to Suga with surprising maturity. He navigates relationships in a way that feels natural, warm, and deeply connected. So why number 4? Because V's real-life personality is a beautiful contradiction, a mix of free spirit and emotional depth, of artist soul and chaotic humor, of independence and fierce loyalty. He's unpredictable but reliable, whimsical but grounded, playful but wise. He's the kind of person who reminds you that life can be strange, confusing, funny, heartfelt, and meaningful all at the same time. And honestly, that might be the most Taehyung thing ever.
Number 3. Suga, Min Yoonji, the quiet observer with a thunderstorm inside. Suga taking the number 3 spot will probably make a lot of people nod slowly like, yeah, that tracks. Because when it comes to real-life personalities, Min Yoonji is one of the most fascinating, misunderstood, and unexpectedly emotional members of BTS. On stage, he's fierce, sharp, and charismatic in that I could destroy you with one verse kind of way, but off stage, oh, he's a walking paradox in the best possible way. He's quiet yet talkative when he's comfortable, calm yet intense, introverted yet deeply caring, serious yet secretly hilarious, blunt yet incredibly soft-hearted. Trying to summarize Yoonji's personality is like trying to describe the exact temperature of warm soup. It's precise, subtle, layered, and weirdly comforting. The thing about Suga is that he's not someone who performs personality. He doesn't exaggerate emotions, he doesn't act bubbly for the camera, and he doesn't try to be the center of attention. If anything, he prefers being the guy sitting at the edge of the sofa, observing everyone like he's collecting data for a social experiment that only he understands. And that's part of what makes him so intriguing. He's honest, fully, unapologetically himself. He doesn't push, he doesn't fake, he doesn't overdo it. And in a world where people often wear emotional armor, Yoonji's authenticity is incredibly refreshing. But don't confuse quiet with cold, because Suga has one of the warmest, most reliable hearts in the group. He's the type who won't shower you with affection in loud, dramatic ways, but will quietly make sure you're okay before you even realize something's wrong. He expresses care through actions, offering advice without being asked, giving members space when they're overwhelmed, checking on someone subtly, or leaving a comment later that shows he noticed more than he let on. His emotional awareness is sharp, almost scary. He sees things others overlook. He feels things deeply. He understands people not because they talk loudly, but because he listens quietly. Real-life Suga is also absolutely hilarious, but in a way that sneaks up on you. His humor is dry, sharp, and delivered with the expression of someone who looks like he hasn't slept in 12 hours but still has enough energy to roast everyone in the room. Sometimes he says things so bluntly that the members need a second to process the joke. Sometimes he makes comments that are so unexpectedly funny, you wonder if he spent time practicing comedic timing. And then sometimes he just exists, blinking slowly, sipping coffee, looking mildly annoyed at life, and somehow that's also hilarious. But beneath that humor is a deep thinker. Yoonji's personality is heavily shaped by his past. Years of struggling, working multiple jobs, questioning his dreams, dealing with anxiety and the pressure to succeed. Those experiences built a type of resilience in him that's quiet but unshakable. When he speaks about life, he sounds like someone who has lived through 5 lifetimes. He's introspective, thoughtful, philosophical even. He talks about mental health openly, encourages people to accept themselves, and gives advice that hits with the accuracy of a dart thrown by an expert sniper. He doesn't sugarcoat the truth. He respects people enough to be honest with them. And honestly, that kind of honesty is rare.
Yoongi also has this unexpected soft, affectionate, almost cuddly side that comes out around people he trusts. He leans on members' shoulders, sits close during group talks, lets Jungkook cling to him like a koala, and lets Jimin tease him without fighting back too much. He might act like he's annoyed, but the man melts faster than ice cream left out in a heat wave. His bond with the members is one of the most telling aspects of his personality. He may look distant, but his loyalty runs deep. If someone needs help, he's there. If someone is hurting, he notices first. If someone succeeds, he claps the hardest. And let's not ignore the grandma-like habits that make Suga extra lovable. He loves naps like they're a competitive sport. He sits with his legs crossed like a wise elder. He complains about noise but secretly enjoys the chaos. He gives advice like he's 87 years old. He drinks coffee like it's oxygen, and he has the energy of someone who could disappear into a studio for 12 hours and forget the concept of sunlight. But the most compelling part of his personality is his internal duality, the mix of softness and steel. On one side, he's gentle, understanding, emotionally intelligent, and quietly loving. On the other, he's fierce, determined, strong-willed, and brutally honest. That combination makes him incredibly grounded, someone who doesn't need attention to be impactful, someone who doesn't need noise to be heard. So why number 3? Because Suga's real-life personality is a blend of depth, maturity, humor, subtle chaos, emotional strength, and hidden softness, qualities that create a rich, unforgettable presence. He's the calm in the storm, but also the storm in the calm. He's the silent backbone, the quiet flame, the steady heartbeat of the group. And honestly, there's no one quite like him.
Number 2. The unexpected backbone of warmth. Jin. You know, when people talk about Jin's personality, they usually stick to the surface-level stuff. Oh, he's funny, he's the worldwide handsome guy, he's the one who cooks, and all those predictable lines. But the more you peel back those layers, the more you realize that Jin isn't just that guy who cracks dad jokes like it's his full-time job. He's actually this oddly perfect blend of eldest brother energy, secret emotional intelligence, hidden leadership, and an almost suspicious amount of maturity that he likes to camouflage with loud laughter and chaos. And in real life, he's the kind of person who shapes the mood of the entire room without ever announcing it. Jin's personality is like that one seasoning in ramen that you don't notice at first, but completely ruins the dish if you remove it. He's warmth wrapped in humor, calm wrapped in noise, and you only realize how essential he is when you imagine BTS without him, which is basically imagining a house without a roof, or a group chat without the one person who always sends memes at 2 a.m. to keep everyone sane. But what makes Jin really stand out in real life is how consistently he puts others first in ways you don't see unless you're paying close attention. Like how he notices members' stress before they say a word, or how he always tries to turn heavy moments into laughter, not because he's avoiding the seriousness, but because he understands exactly when humor becomes a survival tool. If you've ever watched behind-the-scenes clips, Jin is constantly scanning the room. He's the one who senses awkward tension and bulldozes through it with a joke so bad it loops back into being funny. He's the one reminding younger members to eat, drink water, or take a break. And he does it so casually that you could miss the fact that this is genuine caretaking. The man hides his emotions like they're classified documents, but at the same time, he's extremely open in this calm, transparent way when he chooses to be. Like how he talks honestly about burnout, pressure, and the weight of being the eldest. And he never tries to package it dramatically. It's always simple, grounded, and surprisingly comforting. That's the funny thing about Jin. He pretends to be unserious 99% of the time, but the remaining 1% reveals a depth that makes you go, ah, this guy is built different. He's emotionally sturdy, the kind of sturdy that comes from understanding life a little deeper than he lets on. It's the I've seen things but I'll still smile anyway kind of personality. And on top of that, Jin has this very interesting mix of independence and team-centered thinking.
He can do things on his own without blinking, but he also gravitates toward making sure everyone's okay. It's why he's often the quiet stabilizer, the member who doesn't need to shout to lead. He leads through consistency, through presence, through his weird ability to lighten the mood at the exact right second, through the way he steps back when others need the spotlight, but steps forward when the group needs someone to hold the line. And let's not forget his subtle rebellious streak, the one that makes him tease the younger members like it's a sport, roast the older ones with the confidence of a man who has accepted his fate, and challenge chaos with even more chaos. That humor, that sharp, fast, perfectly timed humor, it's part coping mechanism, part personality, part weapon. Jin uses comedy like a shield and a sword. It protects him, it protects the group, and honestly, it also entertains the rest of us who have no choice but to laugh even when the joke is so bad it ruins the atmosphere and fixes it at the same time. But when real-life responsibilities hit, Jin shows his real personality, dependable, thoughtful, quietly strong, and shockingly mature. He's the type who notices when someone is struggling even if they haven't said a word. The type who pretends nothing bothers him, but also isn't afraid to admit when something actually does. The type who carries weight without making others feel guilty about it. The type who knows when to speak and when to simply sit next to you so you don't feel alone. He's not dramatic, he's not loud about his emotions, and he doesn't need a heroic moment to prove he cares. Jin just is, consistently, reliably, naturally himself. And that's what makes his real-life personality so compelling. At the end of the day, Jin is the comforting warmth of a late-night conversation, the laughter that breaks a heavy day, the stability you don't notice until you really need it, and the kind of person who makes chaos feel manageable just by being there. That's why he ranks this high, not because he tries to stand out, but because his real personality naturally carries a depth that's impossible to ignore.
Number 1. RM, the Kim Namjoon whose real personality is nothing like you expect. Here it is, the final spot, the top of the list, the crown no one wears quite like him. At number 1, we have RM, the man whose public image is already impressive, yet somehow still doesn't even begin to cover what he's actually like in real life. Namjoon is one of those rare people whose personality seems obvious at first, smart, calm, articulate, philosophical, but the deeper you look, the more you realize you've only seen a tiny sliver of the real him. And that's exactly why he sits comfortably at number 1. Because RM isn't just a leader, he's a walking contradiction in the best possible way. A genius who breaks things, an introvert who commands stadiums, a soft-hearted thinker trapped inside the body of a gym enthusiast, and a man who can talk about the meaning of life while also being the guy who loses his passport at least once every comeback season. His personality isn't just unexpected, it's hilariously, beautifully, overwhelmingly human. RM's real-life personality begins with that calm energy he's known for, but don't let that fool you into thinking he's always composed. Behind the scenes, RM is thoughtful to the point of overthinking, constantly analyzing himself, the group, the world, and possibly the neighbor's dog if he's having a particularly reflective day. He's the type of person who can read one poem and suddenly start questioning the purpose of electricity. His members tease him for being too deep, but they also rely on that depth in ways they can't even hide. When Namjoon talks about life, you don't just listen, you feel like you should be taking notes. And yet for all this philosophical complexity, he's also the same guy who is tripped on air at least 5 times on camera. Balance? Namjoon has none. Personality? He has everything. Number 1. RM, Kim Namjoon, the leader whose real personality is nothing like you expect.
Here it is, the final spot, the top of the list, the crown no one wears quite like him. At number 1, we have RM, the man whose public image is already impressive, yet somehow still doesn't even begin to cover what he's actually like in real life. Namjoon is one of those rare people whose personality seems obvious at first. Smart, calm, articulate, philosophical. But the deeper you look, the more you realize you've only seen a tiny sliver of the real him. And that's exactly why he sits comfortably at number 1. Because RM isn't just a leader. He's a walking contradiction in the best possible way. A genius who breaks things, an introvert who commands stadiums, a soft-hearted thinker trapped inside the body of a gym enthusiast, and a man who can talk about the meaning of life while also being the guy who loses his passport at least once every comeback season. His personality isn't just unexpected, it's hilariously, beautifully, overwhelmingly human. RM's real-life personality begins with that calm energy he's known for, but don't let that fool you into thinking he's always composed. Behind the scenes, RM is thoughtful to the point of overthinking, constantly analyzing himself, the group, the world, and possibly the neighbor's dog if he's having a particularly reflective day. He's the type of person who can read one poem and suddenly start questioning the purpose of electricity. His members tease him for being too deep, but they also rely on that depth in ways they can't even hide. When Namjoon talks about life, you don't just listen, you feel like you should be taking notes. And yet, for all this philosophical complexity, he's also the same guy who has tripped on air at least 5 times on camera. Balance? Namjoon has none. Personality? He has everything. But one of the most defining parts of Namjoon's real personality is actually his vulnerability. People think leaders have to be perfectly strong, perfectly wise, perfectly stable, but RM has spent years openly acknowledging his insecurities, his doubts, and the pressure that sits on his shoulders. He once said that he doesn't lead because he's naturally confident, he leads because he's willing to grow through discomfort. That honesty created a culture in BTS where the members feel safe sharing their own insecurities. His leadership isn't loud, it isn't authoritative, it's nurturing. His personality is built on empathy, patience, and an absurd amount of emotional stamina. Namjoon is the one who listens first, speaks later, and somehow always knows the exact thing someone needs to hear. If MBTI tests measured Big Brother energy, he'd score 300%. Of course, we can't talk about RM without talking about his accidental destruction arc. The man is literally too strong for fragile objects and sometimes too distracted for his own good. In real life, he breaks, drops, loses, or damages something at a frequency that should be scientifically studied. Sunglasses? Gone. Phone? Cracked. Passport? Missing every vacation. Shoes? Somehow ends up mismatched. And the funniest part is that he always reacts like, "Oh, again?" As if gravity has a personal vendetta against him. This clumsy trait doesn't contradict his intelligence, it enhances it. Namjoon's brain is simply too busy contemplating existential philosophy to remember that a table corner exists. The contrast is ridiculous and perfect, making his personality feel warm and approachable rather than intimidating. Another core part of his personality is his deep introversion. Fans already know he's quiet, but the reality is even quieter. Namjoon treasures solitude with the kind of passion some people reserve for luxury vacations. His ideal day is literally walking alone through a museum, biking by the river, or sitting in a park pretending to be invisible while listening to music only 3 people on Earth have ever heard of. He doesn't isolate himself because he dislikes people. He isolates himself because that's how he heals, grows, and resets. His mind is constantly running, and solitude gives him space to breathe. The members have said multiple times that when Namjoon disappears for hours, they just assume he's deep in thought somewhere, staring at birds or contemplating the meaning of chairs. But don't mistake this calmness for coldness. RM is deeply affectionate, just not in a loud or obvious way. His love language is subtle acts of support, like checking on the members' feelings, staying up late to talk, noticing when someone is stressed, writing letters full of emotion, or making sure no one feels alone. He's the emotional backbone of BTS, the person everyone gravitates toward when the room feels heavy. And yet, he never makes it about himself. He leads with humility, often crediting the members for the group's strength, even when he's the one guiding them through storms. And let's not forget his humor. Namjoon's real personality includes a dry, unexpectedly sharp comedic timing. He can deliver a one-liner so deadpan that it takes 5 seconds to realize he just roasted everyone. He also laughs at his own mistakes with an almost philosophical acceptance, like, yes, I broke the lamp, but perhaps the lamp wanted freedom. His mix of sarcasm, sincerity, and self-awareness creates a kind of effortless comedic charm that shows up the most when he's comfortable. But the ultimate reason RM takes the #1 spot is this. His real-life personality is the heart of BTS, not because he's perfect, but because he's real. He's messy, brilliant, soft, clumsy, thoughtful, insecure, confident, awkward, powerful, and kind all at once. He carries responsibilities that would crush most people, and he does it while still protecting his members' happiness, fans' comfort, and his own growth. His personality isn't just unexpected, it's inspiring. And the more you learn about him, the more you realize why everyone around him trusts him so deeply. RM isn't #1 because he's the leader. He's #1 because no matter how big BTS becomes, he stays human, honest, flawed, funny, gentle, and endlessly growing. And that realness is the most unexpected personality trait of all.